Hello everyone, Sarah here at Three Little Potters, and I just got back from Portland Pottery, my local store, and they had one of the new Amaco crawls glazes. This is CR 54, and as you can see, I was already sort of in the midst of glazing chaos, and I thought maybe I could eke out a test of this new crawl glaze and see how it works. So the instructions, we're talking about layering it over one of the Amaco Celadon glazes. Okay, I had one completely dried up bottle left of an Amaco Celadon. This is Storm. So I thought I would put that on a ring dish and put the crawls over that. And I also wanted to try it over some other dishes. So June Purple, this is Rising Sun Chang. This is my night glaze, which I use in place of obsidian in many cases. And this is my Studio White. So I thought I'd put crawls on all of these and on some Extreme Blue Dragon Fruit Clay and also some Brown Bear if I can find it. Okay. I'm hoping that there's enough pigment left in this Storm glaze to work. It seems like it. I hope I didn't put in too much water. It's always hard when you're rehydrating a glaze to know how much to go with. Okay. Oops. All right. Really bright purple. I hope it stays bright purple. That could be exciting. We'll start here. It said do 1 to 4 coats. And I'm thinking that we're going to want this glaze to get dry, but not all the way dry. It said something about that it may develop cracks as it dries further. So smaller spots of crawl when it's thin, and it'll go larger when it's thicker. Seems like it wants to dry pretty quickly here. All right, this cup has a pour of Studio White on the inside and to here on the rim. I'm going to go ahead and put the crawl all over the outside. I suspect with most Amaco glazes that thicker is going to be the better look, but I'm not sure. I might layer down a bit so that it's a little bit thicker at the top and thinner at the bottom, and maybe we'll get a progression of the size of spots, if it works at all. Okay, so this is my Studio White. Usually when I'm layering glazes over, there's some amount of mixing between the two that goes on. I'm hoping this glaze will sort of sit on top and do its own thing and not mix and just leave a nice solid base glaze underneath the crawl. But I don't know if that's too much to hope for. All right, that was night glaze. Rising Sun is not normally a glaze that I use as a base for anything, but I recently just mixed up a huge bucket of it with the intention of trying it out more. So we'll just see. And June Purple, this is a chrome tin purple. If you're looking for this recipe online, I do add a tiny bit of cobalt to mine to have it more of a blue purple rather than a red purple. See if I can get another coat of Storm Celadon on here. This is Kentucky Mudworks Brown Bear Clay. Oops. Splashing around here. All right, let's get some more coats. Okay, this one's starting to crackle apart now, so I guess I need to move quickly on this one. I feel like I did kind of 2 coats that first one, but let's get some more on there. All right, 2 coats there. It does seem like it's drying pretty quickly as I'm putting it on. A lot of times when I'm coating on glazes, it feels like you need to wait 10, 15 minutes in between for some of these glazes. This is feeling a little bit more immediate to me. I think I'm going to put the last coat on this one. This is sort of a in between 3 and 4 coats. Okay, that one's ready for the kiln. This is the Storm Celadon. Put 2 coats right on this. All right, that's coat number 1. This one might need to dry longer. Ooh, it's definitely starting to do its magic. Cracking up right there. All right. Going up top here with this 3rd coat. And this is my one that only has 1 coat on it currently. This is the Storm Celadon. And I'm just going to leave Storm Celadon with 2 coats, and we'll see how that goes if the spots seem to be smaller. Okay, so that one's done. This is the Brown Bear Clay. Probably do 2 more on this. All right, I'll do 1 more after that. All right, that'll be the June Purple going into the kiln. Rising Sun. Doing a really thick coat on the inside here. And this is my Night Glaze. That's coat number 3 there. Coat number 3 here. This, I believe, will be a 3rd coat on Brown Bear, but I'm going to leave it right there. Uh-oh, that rim is coming off. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, well, let's see. There they are, getting loaded into the kiln with lots of other fun things. So when you're putting your coats on and it starts to get this crackle, it's too late to put more coats on. So I was glazing some of these mushrooms here, and because I waited a little bit too long, some of them didn't get as many coats as the others. Once it starts pulling up, you basically have to stop. Here, this one I waited just a little too long and it started to pull up, so I'm thinking that might not be as great of a result. Purple crawl results are out of the kiln. I could not be happier. I love this glaze. Okay, I thought I wasn't going to love this glaze. I felt like, oh, it's kind of weird. I don't know from the pictures if I'm gonna like it. There were some tests I saw that I was like, eh. But I really, really love this glaze. And this glaze is a glaze that does so well in person. I'm just not able to explain how awesome that feels to the touch. It's like you put this in your hand and you do not want to let go. Another thing I was worried about, oh, you're not going to be able to drink there, or it's going to be all rough on your lips. It is not rough. It is smooth, soft to the touch. If you want a smooth surface on the lip, so I've used Studio White here, and so this is completely smooth where this has the raised texture. And this section down was just on the bare clay. Basically, the second these came out of the kiln, I walked back over to my computer and ordered a lot more of the crawl glaze because I'm excited. I'm definitely excited by these results, and I can see a lot of applications for this. But let's jump over to the photo table and look at these a little bit more closely. So these are some of my tests. So for this test, the inside of this cup was poured with my Studio White, and then I dipped the rim to here. Now, one of the weird things that I thought is, I wondered if you'd be able to like pick these off. I wondered like how on there they are, but they are definitely like part of the mug. It's not like something that you could like scrape off. If anybody else has that weird worry, they are definitely on there, and they are definitely now part of the cup. I think it looks so much like water droplets that you almost have that thought of like, oh, I could just get it off, but it's on there. It's not coming off. And again, I love this, you know, these bumps and then this smooth section that keeps the pattern, I think is really interesting. This is it over Storm Celadon, and you can see a slight imperfection here. I think possibly this storm didn't have quite enough time to dry before I added the purple glaze over. If you watched that video, I was doing that in pretty quick succession. All right, this is it over my night glaze. This glaze is a little bit similar to Obsidian. It's just a clear Hansen glaze with 5% Best Black stain. So it does work with that. I will say a little puffier here, like definitely smooth, definitely food safe. And I think the surfaces, they're both really pretty. My favorite out of the tests was by far June Purple. That's a mixed glaze that I mix, and I felt like that was just such a pretty base for this color that I did a whole bunch of that. So you can see here, just love this variation. This is it over Extreme Blue Dragon Fruit Clay. Again, no pinholes, just a really pretty result. If you're like the pooled up effect, but don't want to have a white base clay, if that's what you're used to, it worked well over Mako's engobes. So I believe this is dark red, black engobe. This is sparkle black engobe, I believe. So that's an option if you don't want the background of it to be white like it is here. And this is it over Studio White. Again, these are flat here. This is it over Rising Sun Chang. Over Studio White with Canary Yellow stain added. And thinner here, thicker here. You can sort of see how your variations just bring out a lot of different really cool effects. These are both over Studio White. One has the speckled in the B-Mix clay, and this is regular B-Mix. For this was just plain clay at the top with a little bit of black stain on the base of the glaze. I mean, on the base of the clay. Let's look at this. And this was it over the Extreme Blue Dragon Fruit clay. Again, this has a white pour on the inside, so. And this is it on Brown Bear clay. Again, similar to the other cup with the white pour on the inside. This was already a damaged cup. I honestly didn't think this was going to work, and I'd want to throw it away, so. Yeah, really pretty. I feel like for many of these, this effect looks like a cracked desert. So I feel like this is the desert effect of the frozen pond technique. This is the, yes, the desert version of a frozen pond. And I just, yeah, and without as much work too, without as much work. So we do need to talk a bit about application of this glaze because it is different than other glazes that you've worked with, different from Amaco glazes. You're going to, first of all, when you go to sit down to put this glaze on, sit down to put this glaze on. Don't put one coat on and think that you can walk away and that you're going to come back and put another coat on and it's going to work. You know, I think the instruction said something like, oh, wait until the coat is dry, but not starting to crack yet. And what I found on my second run through with this glaze is that that is very small window of time that you have to work with, and you're almost better off really working with it while it's still kind of wet. The goal here is to get a thick coat of this glaze on, but to keep it on the piece. So when you're putting it on, there's a point where if you've let it dry too much, it starts to pull up the pieces. You know, and it's going to want to crack and flake off. If you've worked with oatmeal, you know how that glaze can be really thick and want to fall off a rim. If you've gone too thick with it, it kind of cracks. So this glaze will look cracked to you when you're putting it in the kiln. You will start to see some of these cracks. It is, because of that, also very hard to transport and get it into the kiln without knocking off any of the glaze. So I found that the best results were 3 coats for me, and they needed to be done fairly rapidly. There was a point, let's see if I have it, where some of these mushrooms maybe don't have quite as much of that breaking apart look to them, and that was because I waited too long. I was glazing 15 pieces at once. So I was going through one coat, thinking that I would have enough time to slap it on, circle back to the beginning, slap it on. But by the time I was midway through, I realized that they were drying too quickly here and I needed to go back. So, you know, we're talking the difference between, and it's going to depend on the humidity in your home, the temperature in your home, many factors, how thick you brush that first glaze on. But if you see that first glaze start to get a little bit dry looking, you need to be putting on that second coat. And same with the third coat. Many of these, you know, I might have liked to have gone thicker, but they were at the point where it started to fall off. So this one here had started to fall off, and you can see maybe pieces where it's not quite as perfect or uniform as a glazed surface. And as I was trying to brush, I had pieces sort of twisting under the brush and wanting to fall off entirely. So you're trying to stick them back on with the wet, but ideally you don't want to get to that point. You know, I might have done 4 coats on this. If I could have, I definitely couldn't because I waited too long and it was already getting too dry. So there's definitely a trick to learning how to apply this glaze. I think I got lucky my first try where you're seeing me sort of brushing really rapidly. I was just trying to get it in the kiln and doing it very rapidly. My second attempt with this, when I was being more intentional with it, I was realizing that it's particular. It wants to be particular. And if you are in a position where you can put it on, have your bottom already wiped. That's another thing. If you need to wipe glaze off your bottom, I would wipe the glaze off of your bottom if like it had a base coat on it before you put on the purple glaze. And if you can, if you can transport this into your kiln while it's still a little bit damp before it has started the real cracking process and get it into the kiln quickly, all the better. As far as glaze schedules go, the first glaze schedule was great with this. My next glaze schedule was a little bit cooler, also was fine with this. So it doesn't seem to be, it's not one of those temperatures super finicky. You have to be dialed in by the degree on your kiln schedule. You're gonna get good results with this glaze, even 10 degrees cooler or hotter. So I hope this review was helpful for you. I would love it if you liked and subscribed to my channel so that I can get even bigger and get more glazes and do more reviews. This one's a lot of fun, and I plan to do some more just sort of layering different colored dots when I get more of these glazes in the mail, which hopefully will be soon. But yes, this glaze is it's definitely 2 thumbs up. I was skeptical, and now I don't even want to sell this cup because it feels so nice in my hand. So I definitely want to make myself some teacups that are handleless so that you can kind of love the glaze. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.